Hey now, it is a hot day out and I'm thinking about ice cream, but I don't have time to have ice cream because I need to make some sourdough. So because of that, I'm going to make a sourdough that's inspired by one of my favorite ice creams, which is mint chocolate chip. Now, we make ice cream around here every now and then, and that's, we're taking the cream and steeping it with fresh mint leaves, and I have a whole bunch of sweet mint in my greenhouse right now. This mint right here, look at it all. It's beautiful. And using that mint, I'm going to go ahead and also take some half and half cream here and some sugar and some chocolate chips and hopefully make an awesome sourdough. So let's check how this works. So my thought here is that the liquid for this sourdough, all of it's going to be this 10% half and half cream. So I'm going to pour this in. I'm only going to need around 375 grams for this. So I'm not going to pour in the entire container. More than 375 is going into this right now though. And I've got, this is 17 grams of fresh mint leaves. I'm just going to kind of tear them just a little bit here to help release some of those aromatics a little bit quicker. Put this in here. So the 17 grams, I think that's like 0.35% or something like that. I was running the math. But either way, I would just use a whack load of fresh mint for this. So I'm going to let this milk heat up and just let it simmer here for a little bit. So I've just got it at a nice simmer like this. It's kind of steaming. I actually want to throwing in the full half liter just because there could be some evaporation and I don't want to shortchange myself. Plus I probably wasn't going to use that cream for anything super important anyway. So here we are. Okay, so after this steeped for around half an hour, I just went ahead and left it on the burner but turned it off. Now I'm going to go and attempt to strain this through this sieve. All right, take two. I forgot to turn on the scale, so I just poured everything out and we're going to actually weigh this because I want to get my 375 grams or mils of liquid. Pull those leaves out of there so they don't throw off my weight. All right, perfect. 375 grams. So we are good to go ahead and begin to mix our dough. It's got a nice little green tint to it, which is fun. We're going to beef that up with some food coloring too. Well, we are ready to mix and everything is actually going to go in here all at the same time. So I'm going to take my cream. And I have some, this is just some green food grade food coloring, of course. And I'm going to throw in a little bit of that. And we will see exactly what the color change of that is going to be here. Just want to throw a nice, fun little green tint into the inside of the bread. So depending on the type of food coloring you might want to use if you're trying to do this, you might need a little bit more or a little bit less. Some more here, just because I know it's going to get diluted significantly with the whiteness of the flour itself. So here we are. Now I've got 500 grams of strong baker's flour here, and this is the base for what we're going to use, and everything else is going to be added to that, and the percentages will be based on that 500 grams. I've got 9 grams, or this is 1.8% of fine sea salt. Normally I add this later on, but I wanted to add this now just so I don't have to mess around with the bread too much and do too much mixing a second time. I'm going to be adding, this is 75 grams or 15% of white table sugar. And I've got chocolate chips. This is 35% or 175 grams here of just mixed chocolate chips that I've got. I'm just going to go ahead and mix this up. And I've got these gloves on here just because of the food coloring, because this is some pretty strong food coloring and I'm not sure what it would do to my hands otherwise. So we'll go ahead and add the cream. There we go. Get all that in there. And now we shall mix. The mint is strong in this. I can just smell it It's just beautiful. It's coming up super herbaceous, and I can actually feel it even in my eyes. And my skin is just really refreshing, which is hilarious. So I think we got the mint into this bread. It's perfect. Oh yeah, this is a beautiful green. It is going to get, again, that color I diluted just a little bit when we go and add the leaven here shortly. For now, this looks absolutely gorgeous. I'm just going to mix it here for another minute, and it'll be good to go. Actually, that right there, that looks good. I'm just going to make sure to get all this precious dough off of my gloves here, and I'll let it sit for 30 minutes. Well, 30 or 60 minutes, we'll see, for a little quick autolyse, and then we'll add some leaven. All right, we are ready to add some leaven. This stuff is nice and pillowy and ready to go. So I'm going to be adding 125 grams, so that's 25%, the baker's percentage there. All right, now that I've got that in there, I'm just going to moisten my hands here with some filtered water. And just poke that leaven in there. And now using pinch and folds, over the next couple of minutes, I will just incorporate this leaven into the dough. I'm noticing that it's a little bit stiffer than I would have expected for that 75% hydration that I used, but I could probably attribute that to the fact that it was cream and not water. All right, there we go. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to cover this up, and because I already have the salt in here, I'm probably going to give it about an hour before I try to mess around with it again. Oh my goodness, after that hour, opening this up, just all that mint freshness bursting out at me, it is amazing. I'm gonna see if I can stretch and fold this here. It's still a little stiff. I think if I was to do this again, next time I will add a little bit more liquid. Still fine. It would just be nice to be able to stretch and fold it a little bit more. I have a feeling this is going to be one of those sourdoughs that doesn't get as much manipulation as some of my other ones. So anyway, I'm going to let this sit another half hour, and then we'll see what we can do with it. All right, so this is firm enough that I think I'm just going to attempt a little bit of a forced coil fold here. It's not really going to sag around too terribly nicely. The chocolate chips, of course, are helping this keep shape and whatnot. There we go. Beautiful. Again, extremely minty. Very excited. I'm going to perform probably 2 more of these every 30 minutes. So I gave it about 2.5 hours after the third sort of manipulative wannabe coil fold there. And I'm just going to pop it out. It hasn't puffed up quite as much as some of my other breads. However, the cream and the chocolate chips and stuff, and who knows, the mint maybe even impacts fermentation a little bit. However, I'm going to just go ahead and pop this right into a banneton. It's firm enough that it's not really losing shape here too much at all. So I'm just going to go ahead, sprinkle a little bit, or a lot, of this rice flour, and then into a rice floured banneton. I'm going to cover it up with plastic and let it ferment overnight. It is the morning of the bake. Now looking at this, you probably noticed that this is a little bit larger. Full disclosure, last night after I had covered this up and I was about to put it in the fridge, I decided, you know what, I want this to ferment a little bit longer. It was cool in the house all day yesterday, so I actually just left it out on the quartz countertops overnight, covered up like this, and it fermented quite nicely. And then I wound up covering it up, throwing it back in the fridge just to chill it down a little bit here for the bake. So I've got my oven preheated at 500 degrees. The cast iron combo cookers are all in there, and it is time just to go ahead and flip, score, and get into the oven. Ooh, some chocolate chips in the way of the blade there. Okay. And I'm just turning the oven down to 440 degrees. I'm going to give it 30 minutes and then we will take the lids off. After 30 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and remove the lid from the sourdough. Woo! It smells awesome. Lots of mint, all that chocolate. I'm going to go ahead and also just pop it off of the cast iron there. Because of the sugar that's in there, I don't want it to risk scorching any more than it might. So by removing it from the cast iron, that might possibly help reduce that. So I'm going to turn the temperature down to 430 degrees here and give it around 20 minutes or so before checking on it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pop this out here. It's been 25 minutes. Forgot to get my little grate out, so I'm going to do that and set it gently on there so that it can cool down.
And a leash.
A leech? All right, so somebody's holding onto my arm here. We've got the bread, and we're ready to cut into it. Who likes mint chocolate chip?
Me.
Are you sure?
Yes.
All right, let's do this. All right, let's go. Just like this. Slicing in like that. Whoa, look at that bread. Look how green it is, girls.
It's green. It's green.
Awesome. How does it smell? Though that smells like mint chocolate chip ice cream, I think.
Yes.
Sweet. Well, let's cut a little slice.
You took a bite of it? Mm-mm.
Okay, here we go. Let's have a little bite.
Yummy. Yummy.
Yummy?
Mm-hmm.
What do you taste?
Mint and chocolate. Mint and chocolate.
Kind of the whole point. Yeah, that mint is really fresh, really bright in this bread. And the chocolate, of course, is just natural appearing. You get that nice, rich sweetness out of that. It's funny, like the crumb, like it's fairly, fairly tight, reasonably uniform. Absolutely gorgeous. I love that we threw a little bit of that food coloring in there. Really fun.
Yes.
It's bright. It pops. It's absolutely delicious.
Green.
And it's green. Okay, so yeah, perfect. Highly recommend this.
Look at green.
I think the only thing I would have changed was maybe toss it into the incubator for the majority of that initial fermentation period, just because the house was a little bit cool for that. But leaving it overnight really kind of finished that off out on the counter. So yeah, perfect. Until next time, keep it 11.